Hello, everyone. On today's podcast, we are talking to author Amelia Zachry and her new book, Enough, a memoirs of mistakes, mania, and motherhood, which talks about her family, immigration, mental illness, and surviving sexual assault. Some of the things we discuss may be triggering to some viewers. If you are a victim of a sexual assault, you don't have to suffer in silence. Please call the National Sexual Assault Hotline. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 1 800 656 4673. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lloyd Health Revolution podcast. This is one of your hosts today, Coach Tamika, and I am so excited to bring you this beautiful woman from the inside, and she's beautiful on the outside, Miss Amelia Zachry. Hi, Amelia.
Hi, everybody. I am so glad to be here. One for the compliments. I am loving that. I will take that any day. But I am also very excited to be here to have a conversation about these issues that I'm passionate about. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, you are so welcome. And everyone, let me just tell you a little bit about Amelia. She is the author of the book Enough, a memoir of mistakes, mania, and motherhood, encompassing themes of family, immigration, mental illness, and she's also a sexual assault survivor. And when she's not writing, she could be found enjoying her time with her two rambunctious daughters, who I read about in the book. Love them. And originally she is from Malaysia, but now she calls Lexington, Kentucky her home, and she can be found on her website, which is ameliazachary.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at Brown Girl Crazy World. All of her information will be posted in the notes, whether you're watching or whether you're listening. So it'll be a direct link where you can actually follow her and get in touch with her. But I'm telling you all, you need to read the book. So I don't know where to start. Guys, I read this book in a day. And it's not like it was a small book. Like some people send me books and it's like, 30 pages. No, this was a book, a real book. I was very honored to read it. And when I read your book, Amelia, like I felt every emotion imaginable. Like I felt happiness, I felt excitement about, your culture. I felt sadness about, what had happened to you. And you divulged so many aspects of your life. So tell me, what inspired you to write this book?
What inspired me to write this book really was my two children. They were very young, and I'm raising two beautiful women. Two beautiful little girls who will turn into young women who will face this world that sometimes can be unkind. And I felt the need to prepare them for, we're always preparing our children, right? We're always preparing our children for the world, whether it's to embrace the good and embrace the bad and ugly and messy. But I wanted to tell my story because I didn't want to be known to have silenced myself in shame and hid things from my daughters. Mm-hmm. I wanted them to know the truth of my past and what had happened to me, and how I have garnered the resilience to be able to come through and thrive and be their mother. And so that's where the idea of the book came about.
Wow.
I must say, while I started writing, I started reading about more experiences like mine. And I was so inspired by these other women who are so brave and courageous with their stories and their words, inspiring us and making me feel that much more less alone and more accepting of my past. And I wanted that to be a piece that I put out into the world, that I would be able to write this book and then share this with other women who have gone through the same thing, and be able to hold your hand and say, we'll make it through, and it's possible.
You accomplished that. I mean, you definitely accomplished that. When I was reading your book, it brought back feelings that I had, during my own experience with being sexually assaulted. And I mean, that was going back over 24 years ago. But what it brought back was, because sometimes it's like you forget, again, 23 years later, I'm very different now, of course, than I was then. But I remember, like you just took me through all the stuff that I remembered, which for me was a good thing. Because I remember feeling isolated. I remember those feelings that you were talking about in the book where your mind, I call it little mind lies. Our mind will play tricks on us. And it's like, oh, well, we deserve it. Oh, you shouldn't be wearing that. Now, mind you, I was wearing like a sweatsuit, but still it was like, oh, you shouldn't have been there at that time. It's broad daylight. But still to me, it was that feeling like I had done something wrong. And I think that it's getting better with women. And I guess it depends on a lot of things. It depends on, I guess, where you come from, your family dynamics, some women that I talk to, they are very much in tune and they're like, no, I know, they had a big support system. You didn't seem like you had like that big of a support system, or was it that you did, but you felt like, I own this, I don't want to reach out for help? Like, just tell me a little bit about what was going through.
Definitely. I am very passionate about these things that you're talking about, because I think a lot of us suffer in silence because of the cultural conditioning, the rape culture that we live in, where it perpetuates these acts of sexual violence because we don't change. We are very reluctant to change the narrative around these acts. Like we talk about, we put a lot of responsibility on the woman to seek justice, to first seek justice, and then to be able to get over it, to heal from it on her own, and like to carry this shame and guilt that was put on us because we believe the stigma, because we believe the cultural conditioning that I was told. I mean, not directly, but like, I don't know how to explain. It's the environment that we're in that tells us that girls should be a certain way, should behave in a certain manner to protect ourselves. And that puts the onus on the woman to protect herself from an act of sexual violence. And it's called assault because it is an act that is forced upon somebody. It's not something that like I had a chance to say no and back out of it. That should be the case. That should be the case where I say no and no means no. But not when I'm incapacitated and unable to provide consent. But these are not the things that we're talking about. We are talking a lot more about it now. I think consent is a huge deal these days. We hear a lot more about it. We talk more about it. But I believed at the time I was 19 years old, so pretty much a child. I wasn't very grown or very wise with the ways of the world yet. I was a very sheltered child. I had a very sheltering family, very tight-knit family. We love each other very much, love each other fiercely, and we are very, very close-knit and always in each other's business. But when this happened, I was not able to go to them because I believed very deeply that what had happened was my fault and that I had done something to disappoint them, to dishonor them. And I could not reach out to my family, even though we were so close. And I isolated myself from my family. I isolated myself from my friends because I thought that I was something tainted and damaged and dirty, filthy, that nobody wanted to be associated with me because I had done this major, this, can I say the word? The major F up.
You can say the word.
I didn't know whether this was a PG conversation. Well, I thought that I had fucked up in a major way, and I was not able to go back and change it. And so I didn't want anybody to know about it. I thought that I could protect myself and protect my family by not sharing it with anybody.
Mm. You know, and that's what a lot of us think. It's like it's our fault. We don't want to shame our family, and we suffer in silence. And I know when I had my daughter, my daughter is grown now, but I know I always tell her, and maybe you feel the same way about your kids. She saved my life, because before her, I was fine with being, how do I say, destructive with myself. I was fine with taking risk, rather that be with guys or alcohol or doing, just crazy daredevil things, um, before her, trying to, I don't know, reach a high or take away the pain or whatever it is that it was serving its purpose, but the purpose wasn't a good purpose. But when I had her, everything changed, because then I started to view myself differently. And she really did like save my life. And I think as a mother going through that, the one thing that I would always tell her, even probably before she was even old enough to understand, was, if anything ever happened to you, please tell me. I'm not going to be mad. It's not, if somebody does anything, I don't care what it is, always tell me, because I didn't feel like I could do that. And when I actually did it, people didn't even believe me. Nah, you must have warranted it some way. This was family members. Like, no, you must have did something. What can I do? Like you, I was 20, and I'm like, what can I do? I'm out in the broad daylight. I have a sweatsuit on, and this is what happens to me. Like, how is that my fault? How is that? I wouldn't care if I was, naked, really, right now. It's like, I don't care if somebody's naked. Nobody has a right, doesn't matter what you have on. Nobody has a right to do that. But having my daughter, I tell her every day, you changed me. And reading your book, and it's like, I want to say so much about the book, but I'm not, people, because you guys are going to have to read it for yourself. But it is just so freaking good.
Thank you. And I think coming on the trail of what you were just saying, I can share, like, people read the book. It's a memoir of mistakes, mania, and motherhood. And then motherhood plug is really about, like what you said, how I found power.
Yes.
How I found my power in being a mother and being a woman. And what that meant to me changed when I was in a place of healing. And now, given that I had been in the treatment process for all those years before I had my children, but something changed in me when I had my children. I wanted better. I wanted a life. I had wanted. I started imagining a life that I would have. I wanted to live again, and I think that power in me surfaced and allowed me to be that mother, and allowed me to step into the healing and do the work. I mean, I did the work. It wasn't something that just happened because I snapped my fingers and said I wanted it to happen. I had to do the work to get there. And I think I am now in a place of healing, in a place of growth, that I'm able to be the mother that I want to be to my children, and a role model. I want my children to be able to look at me and say that I am an influence in their life that makes them want to live a better life.
Yes. And you are a wonderful mother.
Thank you.
Wonderful mother. And I just want to give a shout out to your husband, because he went through it with you. And what I found so fascinating, because you really don't, well, I can't say people don't do it, but I really don't see love like that too much. Usually it's, oh, okay, crazy. Okay, I can deal with it. I can deal with it. I can do. And then they just disappear, and it's like, well, I can't deal with this anymore. Your husband, I, I was thinking about him last night, and I was like, oh my goodness, I am a big believer of God. And so, if any of y'all are listening or not, too bad. But I always believe that God gives people, the right people to you. And I know my God gave me the right husband for me, and he definitely gave you the right husband for you. And the love that you two share, the love he has for you, and I know you have for him, oh my goodness, it's just amazing. And for him to be there, for you through good, through bad, through heaven, through hell, and you guys work through it, and to get from where you were to where you are now, I'm telling you, he was heaven sent for you. You guys were meant to be together and have those beautiful kids. And I just want to, send him a little thank you, because not for him being who he was, you wouldn't be who you are, in a sense, and have the family, the beautiful kids. And I so enjoyed reading about the way he supported you.
Thank you. I definitely will let him listen to this episode and hear that those beautiful words you said about him. Thank you so much. He is amazing. The mold was broken when he was made. There is none other like him. I am so thankful each day. Like when I give gratitude for the things in my life, he's up there. And so I think a lot. I'm not about to give relationship advice, but I think I can say that our because my life was so tumultuous and I was going through such chaos in my mind and such deep pain and hurt, I had given up and I didn't care to fix anything. I didn't care to be better or mask my words or be gentle with my words. I think I was very honest. I was always honest from the time I met him till this day. We have promised to keep that honesty. And I always was very honest with the way what I was thinking, what I was feeling. And he had promised not to react. Rather, he would process and respond. And so I think it's so important that we're talking about mental illness and living with mental illness and having a support system of people who are living with me who has mental illness. And that is such a great part of healing, to be allowed a safe space and security, a cushion to fall back on, to know that I am secure. And that was work. It wasn't something that we fell in love and the stars came around and then suddenly we were just we just knew what to do. It was a lot of work, a lot of compromise, a lot of tolerance, a lot of adjusting and readjusting things again and again to get the right mix. And I think we're still working on it today, but I think it's working because we are working and evolving and changing with each other. I think that's so important for anyone who's listening out there who is going through mental illness or who has a loved one who has mental illness, that it is key for us to feel safe and secure in our relationships in order for us to then proceed into healing and not be stuck on this stage of trying to convince the person to love us. I was doing that for a long time. I was trying to convince him to love me. I was trying to convince him, but he already did. But I didn't believe it because I was trauma mind, bipolar mind. I was not able to accept and receive that love because I was in such a terrible place at that time. But he stuck with me, remembering what it was that he loved. And now I'm speaking for him, but these are words that he's spoken to me before, because I ask him all the time, why did you stay? I after I wrote the book, I read it and I'm like, why did you stay? That was not easy and it was not pretty. It was ugly and difficult. but you stayed. And he said, because I love you. And
Mm.
that it's as simple as that, but it takes a lot of work. So
Yeah.
I'm understanding that it is going to be a lot of work. It is going to be a lot of patience, so much patience. But if you love somebody, I guess it's a choice you make. It's a choice that we make every day, a choice that we make, that we love each other and we're going to do the work to be together, mental illness or not. And going through my episodes is just part of life.
Mm.
And so we stuck together, and I guess that's our fairy tale.
It's a beautiful fairy tale. I mean, it really is. And I think it's so important when you talk about feeling safe. And, a lot of, whether it's women or men who have mental, some form of a mental illness, sometimes they don't feel safe, or sometimes they feel like, I don't know how it was in your culture, but like when I was growing up, it was like, you can't, no, you don't go to no shrinks. You don't go to the quacks. No, you don't do that. So it's like, when you need that expertise, you don't go, because you're like, oh no, that I'm not crazy. No, I don't need that. I don't need, when, you know what, everybody needs help with something at some point in their life. And to be able to feel safe with what you're dealing with, to be able to feel safe in your own home, and more importantly, to be able to feel safe that when your mind is out of control and you may say things or do things, and have that person that will just hold you, or maybe they do need to walk away a little bit, but then they walk away, drive around the block, and come back and give you a hug. Because I think, that was one of the scenarios in your book where he left and you were like, oh my God, he's not coming back. And he comes back and he gives you a hug. I'm like, yes.
And that's the truth of it. It's always coming back. It's a boomerang.
Yes.
Like and that's the reality of life. And that's what, like, somebody read my book and didn't like that it didn't have a happy ending. And like somehow, I don't know what happy ending they were looking for, but I think that's the reality of life, that we go through these ups and downs. And if we can stay true to what it is that we believe in, and we hold on to those things, I think we are able to then have a more honest and fulfilling life.
Yes.
Because I was, over time, well, now I can say that, because now I am secure in our love. I think he's done enough to prove to me that that what we have is worth fighting for and worth being in. But more than that, I think it was not just him. I think I'm in this space now because I learned to love myself.
Mm-hmm.
I like who I am. I like who I have become. And I'm excited about who I will become, because I believe that we are in constant, consistent evolution and growth, and we're changing. And that's another thing that like works with me and Daniel. We are constantly evolving together. We're matching each other wherever we are. And I think that works for us. That's what works for us. And I think that like the more I loved myself, the more I learned to accept myself and love myself, the more I was open to receiving his love.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes into this cycle of like this bubble of love, because I am able to see things for what they are, rather than like seeing things as attacks towards me, or things that were not mine, or that I was not worthy of.
Yes.
And so once we changed that mindset, I think like that helped a lot in my healing. I moved pretty quickly once I realized that.
I can understand that, because once you learn to love yourself and find more things to learn about yourself, then it's less of a question of why somebody else would want to love you. You have that love, so you can see, you can understand. And even if somebody doesn't love you, it doesn't matter. You love yourself, because it all starts with you.
I think it's especially when somebody doesn't love you. I feel now that with the confidence in myself and love for myself, when someone doesn't love me, it's okay.
It's okay.
because
It's
it's
great.
not a reflection of me. It's maybe our energies don't vibe. Maybe
Mhm.
that person's, how we behave, how we behave is a reflection of our self-perception and self-belief.
Yes.
So I did not internalize external reactions anymore. I mean, I'm trying not to. I shouldn't say that I'm fixed. I'm not. I'm a work in progress and always will be. But I
Yes.
feel like now I'm in a place now where I'm seeing things differently because I love
Mhm.
myself, and I realize that I'm I'm enough. I am enough.
Mm. Yes, you are. You are enough. That beautiful smile just lights up my day, people. You just
Oh,
don't
thank you.
know. Oh my goodness. You know, your story is just, you know, seeing who you are. And, you know, I don't know you because people think, oh, well, maybe I don't know you. So when I say seeing who you are, it's the energy. And from the first time I met you online, I always tell people it's always about energy. Some people can smile and I'll just get this like, oh God, no, you can smile all you want, but no, something's not right with you. But you, it was the energy. It was the energy from me reading your name. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have to learn more about this woman. I have to read, you know, her book, because you just had such great energy. So me taking on that and then reading your book and then learning about all the things that you went through, I said, oh my goodness, she went through so much and she's just still a great person. Like she still has that great
Oh, thank you.
energy. And that
Thank
is
you.
what excites me, you know, about you, period, you know. So guys, you have to read the book. And then you'll know what I mean, because then you'll see this smiling face and you'll be reading a book like, she's still smiling, like she's
What's she
still
smiling
smiling.
about?
What she's smiling about. That's the only way you gotta know people is if you read the book. But what would you tell now that you've been through it, you're going through the motions, and yes, you are constantly evolving to a better version of yourself. What would you tell your younger self? Is there any messages that you would say to your younger self, knowing what you know now?
I would say, hold on. It's gonna be a bumpy ride, but hold on, because
Mhm.
I do believe like I let go a few times when I was younger. I did not believe that things were going to be okay. I couldn't see how, and
Yeah.
so I wanted it all to not be anymore. But I think like that, if I had known that if I just held on long enough, like I'm going to see it.
Mm, mm,
So hold on
yes.
is what I would tell my younger self. I always tell myself like, and I guess I did hold on.
You
I
did
did
hold
hold on.
on.
I'm here. I'm here. So I did hold on. So
You
that's probably not the best thing to say. But I'm so if there's clarity in like what I have today that I will pass on, it would be that there is value in placing hope and faith in the unknown. There are
Mm,
uncertainties, but life will bring you where you just as long as you hold on, life will bring you where you need to go.
mm,
And I believe in
mm,
this thing, right? I'm sorry, I'm extrapolating the question. But I believe in this thing that my friends and I always say there are no wrong cards. So I used to harp on all the terrible things that happened in my life, and I always thought that like if those things didn't happen, my life would be different. If those things didn't happen, then like I would be a different person. If
mm,
those things didn't happen, my future would be brighter or different. But those things did happen, and the most beautiful things in my life, my husband, my children have happened to me, and the beautiful people that I have gathered along the way, they're who are there for me, who are still here for me today. They would not be part of the journey if I had a different path. If the things that happened to me, and I would be an absolutely different person. I would be an absolutely different person. I would probably, I'm guessing, I would be still that sheltered, protected child, entitled child that I was. And I think like there's something to be said about everything, but I believe there are no good or bad things that happen in my life. They were just things that happened,
Mhm.
as difficult as it is to accept or understand, or yeah, just accept. I think it is crucial that I now am in a place of peace and healing because I accept my past as just as it is.
Yes, I totally agree. If it wasn't for your past, you wouldn't be who you are today.
Yeah.
And I definitely believe that the things we go through are meant to get us to our purpose. And you went through a horrible experience and you had some peaks and you had some valleys. But with all that, you birthed not only two beautiful children, but a book that's going to help, men and women. It's not, men, y'all need to read this book too, because then maybe you'll see if your fathers, maybe teach your sons, you know, if a woman is intoxicated, that's not consent. She can't give consent. It's so many lessons, no matter what sex you are, no matter what race you are. And so you birthed this beautiful book that is now going to help more people than you probably would even imagine. And unfortunately, it took that for you to birth this beautiful book. And I'm happy for you because I see such great things for you and such great things, for your future. Your two beautiful kids, and one of them is a genius, y'all. Y'all know if y'all read that book. I loved reading about, both of your children. And even in that scenario, when you had to fight for them, you had to fight for, to make sure that your child is in the right group and the right this. And you got people that was constantly, I guess, trying to tell you what to do with your own child, and you rose above that as well. So guys, I'm telling you, it's so many wonderful things that's going on with this book that I really don't recommend books that often that I say, it's a must read. No, it's a must read. Because it's going to challenge you to really think about yourself and think about what you believe. And so I thank you for that. I thank you
Thank
for
you. Thank you. I could
that.
not I could not ask for a better testimony. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
So guys, I could sit here and talk to Amelia all day, but I promised you guys that I wouldn't do all these long podcasts and y'all are all screaming at me. Amelia, is there any last words you want to say before we go?
I want to say thank you for listening. First of all, I share my experience in hope that it brings hope to others and brings um, inspiration to live the life that you have imagined for yourself. And that's the message with Enough. It is a message of hope in the unknown, faith in the unknown, and knowing that life will deliver if you are seeking it with a raw, open heart. Um, Thank you. And my book, Enough, A Memoir of Mistakes, Mania, and Motherhood, is available for sale everywhere books are sold. Amazon, bookshop.org, wherever. You can check out my website, ameliazachry.com, and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, at Brown Girl Crazy World. Thank you so much for listening in, and thank you, Tamika, so much for having me and holding space for me.
Oh, you're welcome, Amelia. And again, all of her information, guys, are going to be in the show notes. So it'll be direct links. I'll even have the direct links for the book through, Barnes and Noble and Amazon. But I'm telling you, you're not going to regret it. And if you are in a situation where you need help, please send me an email and I will direct you to some resources that can help you. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to suffer alone. And most importantly, it is not your fault. So send me an email and I'll get you some resources that that can help you. So for everyone else, thank you. Thank you, Amelia. And you all be safe out there. Love one another and keep being blessed. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.